May 25th. Okay, meeting is now called to order. Let us stand for a silent prayer. Now the pledge allegiance to the flag.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Tonight, I'm going to ask that everyone identify themselves by your name when you place a motion on the floor, and please address each other as Councilwoman and your last name and their last name. And the goal is to be finished by 8:30 tonight. So at this time, Clerk Pittman, would you please call the roll?
Councilwoman Noah.
Here.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Here.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Here, I want to just interject about the 8:30 goal. I am going to call for an addition to the agenda that we have a closed session in regards to personnel.
Do we have to do a 24-hour notice for that?
Not when we're changing the agenda, no ma'am.
Let him finish calling the roll first, and then we'll go into that, please.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Here.
Mayor Jones.
Here.
Councilwoman Lipta.
Here.
And Councilwoman Nelson.
Here.
Okay. Now, Councilwoman Burrow.
Yeah, I'd like to adjust the agenda for closed session. That's my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, let me do it this way. I didn't hear anyone, so I tell you, could you please call the roll on the motion?
Councilwoman Noah.
No.
Councilwoman Griffin.
No.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
No.
Councilwoman Lipta.
Aye.
And Councilwoman Nelson.
No.
Could you give me the vote count, please?
Yes, there are 4 noes and 3 yes.
There will not be a closed session tonight. Let us move to the public comment. Citizens who are interested in speaking, they were to submit their comments on yesterday, May the 24th by 5:00 p.m. Clerk Pittman, do we have anyone signed up to speak tonight?
Yes, the first person is Nick Kassoff.
Mr. Kassoff?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. My name is Nick Kassoff, and I'm at 125 Royal Avenue in Ferguson. And I want to address the council tonight about Resolution 2021-11, in which the council would be authorizing the expenditure of $130,000 to a consulting firm to update our zoning, subdivision, and sign code. We've been talking about financial crisis and what we're going to do to make ends meet here in Ferguson throughout these budget sessions and some of the other council meetings around that. And I've got to say that if there's anything that's not urgent and important, and it's a big ticket item like that, we ought not be spending that money. So I'm here tonight to ask the council to vote against this resolution. Now, we've got a planning department. We've got a qualified gentleman, Mr. Liebson, who's in charge of that department. And whatever incremental changes we need to make, I believe that he would be capable of doing that and presenting it to the council, which this consulting firm would have to present these changes to the council anyway. So it's not like we can completely pass the buck off by paying that money. Council's still going to have to weigh in on this, and you should. So I believe $130,000 would go a long way toward making a difference in some of the other needs we have here in the city of Ferguson. And to the extent that we need to make some changes in our zoning codes, I mean, let's be honest, Ferguson doesn't have big empty plots of land that need to be rezoned. We don't have 150-acre cornfields that we want to turn into subdivisions, or subdivisions we're going to bulldoze and put in a shopping mall or something like that. So we're talking about making small incremental changes anyway. So let's save that $130,000. Let's use our money wisely, especially at a time when we're even considering going to the residents of this community and asking for more tax money with an increase. Spending $130,000 on something that's not urgent and important, we ought to be turning that down. So again, I'm asking the members of this council, please, let's not waste this money. Vote no on the resolution this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cassaw, for your comments.
Okay, next we have Annette Jenkins.
Good afternoon, Council and Mayor. My name is Elder Annette Jenkins. I reside at 316 Baldwin. Recently, I and many other Ferguson citizens heard that the city manager process was open April 17th and closed on May 13th. This is very disturbing, unfair to the citizens of Ferguson. This is not transparency nor participation for the citizens. We are all long overdue for official city manager, and the city and the council needs to hire a city manager immediately. We have been waiting for a long time, and we cannot move forward effectively as a city without a city manager. While Chief Hamilton is doing the best that he can, we still need official city manager. Again, I appeal to the council to hire a city manager immediately. Not like Heather Robinette, Linda Lipton, Steve Garrett, and Tony Beers tried to bring the casino manager into the city. I don't know how anyone else feels, but I'm tired of the talking. It's time to start doing. Thank you, concerned citizen.
Thank you, Ms. Annette Jenkins.
Okay, next we have Jerry Knoll.
Yes, hi, thanks, Octavia. Mayor Jones and City Council members, I submitted my comments in a letter, so I'm just going to read the letter. There's been a lot of discussion recently about the need for traffic calming here in Ferguson. Fortunately, the city has already paid for and is in possession of professionally designed plans, including engineering drawings for traffic calming on South Florissant. The minutes of the City Council meeting on December 10th, 2013 document a road diet proposal for South Florissant. The presentation was given by the Crawford, Bunt, and Brahmeyer traffic engineering firm. The minutes record some details about the presentation plus some questions that the council at that time asked. And those minutes can be read by clicking this link that I have in the email. Since that time of the road diet proposal, the Federal Department of Transportation in 2017 issued 24 case studies of road diets that have been implemented all around the country. These studies all involve reducing 4-lane roads to 3 lanes, similar to what we would be proposing to do on South Florissant. Many of the documented lane configurations look very similar to those shown on the engineering drawings that were created for Ferguson and that Ferguson has. And those federal case studies can all be read at, and I've got another link for you in the email. A quote from these case studies, the federal case studies, emphasizes the benefits and low cost of road diets. So here's the quote: road diets have the potential to improve safety, provide operational benefits, and increase the quality of life for all road users. Road diets can be relatively low cost if planned in conjunction with reconstruction or resurfacing projects, since applying road diets consists primarily of restriping the road. I believe the council is preparing to approve a budget which includes an allocation for restriping South Florissant. Restriping is all that's really needed to implement a road diet on South Florissant. At no additional cost to the city other than staff time, the road diet proposal from 2013 can be reviewed and considered for use during restriping of South Florissant. So I'm not sure whether comments that are submitted by email are forwarded to all city council members or the city staff. But if not, I would ask that this letter be forwarded to them, because it contains links directly to the city council minutes that I referenced and to the Department of Transportation case studies. So I would urge the city council to review the minutes about the proposal. Since none of the current council was in office at that time, several members of the city council that were in office at that time are mentioned by name in the minutes, and they remain residents of Ferguson. So for further clarity about the proposal, those former council members could be asked why no action was taken. And finally, I'd request that the city staff resurrect the proposal, review it in light of the federal case studies, which give benefits and pluses and minuses for it, and determine how the proposal might be implemented in conjunction with restriping of South Florissant. Oh, and I'm sorry, Jerry Knoll, 1237 Deer Ridge Drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knoll.
Okay, next I have Mildred Kleins.
Good evening. My comments are in regards to the city manager's position. I'm calling for accountability from all of you elected officials to communicate to the residents about the status of this extremely important job. There was a town hall meeting and the candidates that you approved were questioned by a panel of city residents. The town hall felt rushed and disorganized. Quite the embarrassment. Since then, there has been no communication to the residents about which one of the 4 candidates was selected or offered the position. Nothing. As residents, we are encouraged to be involved and
Miss Mildred's volume went out, or is it just me?
It went out.
meeting, Mr. Trayvon Walker, a very young man, asked a question about the status of the city manager's position. He even made suggestions. No one on this council even acknowledged his question, let alone responded to it. It was as if he never asked the question. We deserve better, and we demand better from you. To those of you sitting on this council that are working together for unity, inclusion, and diversity of all the residents here in Ferguson, thank you. And to those that have a different agenda, your efforts to divide, marginalize, and dismiss certain people of our community, your efforts are slipping away. Councilwoman Fran Griffin, you have done a great job on the city council since we've elected you. From helping the disenfranchised tenants in the apartment complexes, to making sure food was distributed to the residents and the community, to trying to bring all people together to hear their concerns, to being the voice of reason on this city council. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kynes.
Third
Thank
Ward
you.
resident.
Okay, next we have Becky Miller.
Good
Ms.
evening, Mayor
Miller?
Jones. Yes, I'm on. Good evening, Mayor Jones and members of City Council. I'm Becky Miller, a member of the Executive Board of PROUD. On behalf of PROUD, as our 2020-2021 fiscal year comes to a close, I would like to thank a number of people for their participation in and support for our events. First, I would like to thank the members of the Citizen Review Board for their excellent presentation on May 18th. Their summary of policing issues is very informative. The information in Mr. Jerry Knowles' slideshow is especially clear, concise, and thorough. Mr. Gene Franks added many helpful comments and responses to questions. Thanks also go to the other CRB members for their important contributions and their attendance at the presentation. Thank you to Chief Armstrong and Ms. Barton, who are panelists at our September and November town halls concerning this consent decree. Ms. Barton returned to add comments during the CRB's presentation last week. We're very grateful for their contributions. Although not a panelist, we also appreciate Assistant Chief McCall's attendance at PROUD events. A special thank you goes to Fire Chief Hampton for his keynote address and expert information for our January town hall on COVID. His update on how COVID has affected Ferguson was especially helpful. We appreciated his attendance at the Confluence Scholars presentation on city government, which happened to coincide with his appointment as acting city manager. We hope that the information was as timely and useful for him as his was for all of us. We are deeply grateful to Councilperson Noah for all her help with outreach and advertising for several PROUD events. We regret that she has stepped down from her role in PROUD, but hope she will continue to attend meetings and events. Finally, PROUD would like to express our appreciation to every city council member. All of you have graced us by attending at least one PROUD event during this past fiscal year. If not for a conflicting budget meeting, Mayor Jones and Councilperson Noah would have had perfect attendance. We greatly appreciate the support of the entire council. We invite everyone to attend PROUD's annual meeting. It will be held on Saturday, June 26th at 2 p.m. During our annual meeting, we will set our priorities and start planning events for the 21-22 year. If anyone would like to help set our agenda for the coming year, they are encouraged to participate. Currently, we're planning an in-person event. The meeting location, however, is still to be determined and will be announced later. Please check our website at proud-ferguson.org. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
next we have Erica Brooks.
Good evening, everyone. Citizens of the city of Ferguson, Missouri do not want to take the position of city manager or mayor, but they are collaborating to overthrow the quote Black and female mayor with all the ideas of previous administrations that didn't want to abide by the consent decree and or a lifestyle that acknowledges the presence and or the human rights of African Americans. It's all about making Ferguson great again beneath the wings of the founding fathers of Ferguson, Missouri. Until the ignorance of the proud Fergusonites is tamed and the injustice in Ferguson, the injustice in Ferguson shall continue to fly like the flag we pledge our alliance to. To the Black citizens of Ferguson, stop cutting off your nose despite your face by backstabbing each other and with the Fergusonites that don't care to see us here in the first place, but will use you to continue the genocide and disenfranchisement of African American community in Ferguson and in America. Have some pride for our generations to come and wake up. And I say that all because of what a citizen just said previously about dividing, having a divisive motive when it comes to our city council dais. People have their agendas not only on the dais, but also in all these different forms of social media that are trying to overthrow what the plan for Ferguson should be, when this should be collaborating with the African-American female mayor that's sitting there, so that we as a city can stand as one and show some improvement as a whole, and not to uphold the pride of Ferguson. And the only way that we're going to come together is that we sit down, not start a meeting off with confusion, but also just start off with coming together as one and making our city proud by working together. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Brooks.
And last tonight, I have Alan Miller.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Alan Miller, 435 DARS. I would like to make a few comments in support of updating Ferguson zoning ordinance. The consultant's bid is extremely high, but the need to update our zoning codes has been apparent for some time, but especially it became clear as we reassessed our city's condition with the our Ferguson 2040 master plan and with the West Florissant Corridor District Plan. The ordinance that we have been using for many decades is based on fragmentation, dividing our city into a myriad of small districts, each with a whole catalog of limitations. I believe that the zoning ordinance has actually limited our economic and civic progress. We need a new vision and new policies to move to a holistic, unified vision for our future based on encouraging new ideas, new paradigms with awareness of racial and economic equity. A new zoning code has potential to facilitate new potentials. Our zoning ordinance has already received substantial changes in the past year or so, adopting the principles of form-based zoning. These principles need to be taken further, incorporating the entire community and allowing transitions between neighborhoods, business areas, and surrounding communities to stitch our city back together. Further, we need to recognize the radical changes affecting our community. We need a zoning ordinance that allows us to respond to the consequences of technological change and attitudes. For example, COVID has caused us to significantly reconsider the functions of our city. As in all of my public comments to the council, I ask that public participation in the process be an inherent part of the process for rewriting our zoning ordinance. In my opinion, neither the Our Ferguson plan nor the West Florissant ordinance are as strong as they could have been if the public had been allowed greater participation, especially as the final versions of the report were released. With the support of Mr. Liebson, we were able to remedy several extremely harmful aspects of the West Florissant Corridor Ordinance. There are quite a few provisions remaining, however, that I believe will still cause additional harm to the residences near the corridor. These could have been identified before the ordinance received its final form if more knowledgeable residents had been allowed to help informing the code. Additionally, public participation increases our understanding of the zoning code changes. During the last Planning Commission meeting, it was proposed to re-subdivide the downtown form-based zoning district to resolve a small issue. This policy of dividing our community into smaller and smaller zones is a leftover from the old code. Public participation will help us all understand the concepts and aspirations of the new ordinance so we can apply it properly. The zoning consultant chosen by the city cites town halls and design charrettes as critical parts of their process. We need to take advantage of these opportunities to ensure that our city's future represents and works the best for all of Ferguson's residents, businesses, and visitors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mueller.
Mayor, that's the last one.
Okay, the public comments portion is closed. At this time, we'll have our manager's report. Acting City Manager John Hampton, you have the floor.
Mayor, Council, always a pleasure to be here, and thank you, Mayor. Tonight, I'm going to start out with Don Boyce, our Public Works Director, and he's going to give us a little update on streets. Don?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just a brief update. Recently, we surveyed a few of these streets, and there were some major sinkholes the size of about 3 foot deep. So we moved forward on Clark, Emmett, and Spring, and we did fill those. We did have those sinkholes filled and patched. We are moving along to find any other streets that are in critical condition as far as sinkholes that are more than a foot deep. That could be a major trip hazard for us, period. So we're trying to address those ASAP. Okay.
Okay, thank you, Don.
No problem.
At this time, I would like to introduce Dave Musgrave. He's going to give us a little update on parks and also the car wash on West Florissant.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Many of you probably saw that we put an update out today about the swimming pool, about the Splash at Wabash facility. Unfortunately, we're going to fill it with water. Probably about 8 or 9 days ago, we found out the one main pump that actually pumps the water into the pool filtration pit had gone bad, not being open for the past year or so. We just figured that out. We immediately ordered a new pump, and it will be delivered hopefully by Friday of this week. They suppose we are shipping it out today. We should have it in hand by Friday. The company's already said they'll try to install it over the weekend, and we can begin filling the pool again on Monday. But as soon as we knew about it, we went and put it on social media, the website, that we were going to delay the opening of the pool by 1 week. And our goal is still to be able to open next Saturday. As well as the car wash, we're moving forward with the bid documents, working on some flood stuff right now. My staff is generating a banner right now with the rendering from our original plan, along with a coming soon. We're going to put that on the fence over there so people understand what's coming and the progress we're making. But those are the 2 updates that I wanted to share with you guys this evening.
Thank you, Dave.
Chief Hampton,
Yes, ma'am.
are there, I didn't want to interrupt you, but I do have some questions.
Sure.
All right. Mr. Musgrave, would you mind sharing what you shared with me today about the budget and the replacement of those parts for the pool, just so people know that it's all under control?
Yeah, not a problem. Last year on the budget, because of COVID, we did budget less than I typically would for maintenance, repairs, those things in the pool. Everybody's aware our pool is well over 15 years old at this point, so things break. That's how it happens. We were planning on replacing the last controller in the pool this season before we opened. That usually costs between $5,000 and $6,000 to replace. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to push that back to after July because we only budgeted $10,000, and the new pump and motor assembly is going to cost us about $8,000 to install. So the controller is being placed on hold. We'll replace that after the July 1 budget's approved for next fiscal year, and then we'll also have money set aside to do the additional pumps if they do continue to fail, that kind of stuff. There's a total of 6 pumps under that pool, and they are all about the same as far as age is concerned. But we did budget for repairs. We do have that in the budget. We're not asking for additional money. And then same thing for next fiscal year. We have money set aside to continue with the repairs and maintenance of that facility.
Thank you. And then Mr. Boyce, on the fill in those areas that you've taken care of, is there any anything that we could tell the citizens that live in that area if they start to see that fill sinking in again? Should they contact you? What should we do there?
I'm pretty confident that that won't happen.
Okay.
We did use an outside source, a company. We didn't use our staff for that particular job. We didn't feel like we had the adequate equipment or staffing at the moment. If they do see any changes, please contact me right away.
Okay.
And they'll be right back out. Okay.
All right. And then do we have any update yet on the street counters that we put in Ferguson Woods?
We do have updates. I will have, I can email them to you tomorrow.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. No problem.
Okay. Is that it, Ms. Lipka?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to give a COVID update. Right now, we've only had 6 new cases in Ferguson. So we are under 30 locations at this time. So county has fully opened up. which is a tricky subject. You know, we can't say we're fully opened up, but we are. So in reality, that means we still have to maintain our social distancing, right? So that does not mean that we're fully open, because we have to maintain our social distancing. So what we are doing with city buildings is we're looking at our 3 to 6 feet, and that's how we're taking our numbers, and that's how we're creating the occupancy load. Okay, for instance, city council chambers with chairs, we will have 45 people in the city council. That includes the council itself. So, and I'll get to that in a little bit. What I would like to do is tell you some of the changes that we are going to do in the city itself. And then if the council wouldn't mind, I'd like to maybe give a couple of suggestions going on forward to council itself, council meetings, and also boards and commissions. I got together with Dave Musgrave and we worked out some things for the boards and commissions if the council pleases. The one thing that we are doing is hopefully by Tuesday, June 1st, I'm sorry, we would like to have this all taken effect. We are going to be no longer having anybody greet you at the front door at City Hall. No longer will temperature checks be taken except for daycare camps at Parks Department. Especially during at the pool, we will not be taking temperature checks because the people are outside and are already going to be heated up. So temperature checks will no longer be necessary in our buildings. And also there will be no more scheduled lunch at City Hall. So we will not be closed any longer. This is all starting Tuesday, June 1st. We are now going to go back to pre-COVID, where we always will have somebody in the building making sure that we can take care of our citizens. We're seeing it that is one of our big complaints, and we're trying to address our complaints as they come. And hopefully this will help. Other big changes that we were going to have is camps that will be not open, such as the gym. The gym at the Parks Department will not be open at this time, the open gym, and also the childcare will remain closed at this time still. Starting June 7th, we're going to be looking at rental inquiries made for the event space in rooms 1, 2, and 3 with some restrictions. All these things I'm saying are going to be put up on our website tomorrow. So there's a bunch. Every city hall, every city building will have its own kind of little bit of rules, but the big rules are you're not going to be greeted at the door, but when you enter a city building, you must wear a mask. When you're in a hallway, you must have a mask on. When social distancing cannot be obtained, you must have a mask on. So we're still trying to maintain our COVID, safety protocols, but yet still trying to open up more and more. So that's all I have for the city itself. And if the council would mind, I would like to make a couple recommendations for the moving forward with council meetings and also the boards and commissions, if that's okay.
Yes.
Okay, Mayor, thank you. The one thing I was looking at, and me and Chris have really looked into this, and if I know people have come by City Hall, you have seen the plastic that we have now put up in the council chambers. That is completely finished. Each person now has plastic between them at the council chambers for the city at the Diaz. So my recommendation would be for this next month of June, just have council come to the meeting. This way we can work out any bugs. If there's a bug that we need to work out, still have it on Zoom. Starting in July, on our first meeting in July, which is only one meeting, we can start having people back in to see the meetings. Now, we still are going to limit the amount of people that are in the building because we have to maintain that social distancing. So like I said earlier, we're looking at 40, 45 people. That could change. I'm going to take a little bit better look at that. Right, but right now it's about 45 people. That's including council. I can give you a little bit better of an update as the month goes on, and we can see how things work out. That's my recommendation for council, but this is just a recommendation from me to you. Also, I've been working out some things with Dave Musgrave at the Parks Department. What we've been thinking about is we have 2 rooms that are set up that are Zoom ready. So what we were thinking is the boards and or commissions could meet up at one of those 2 meeting rooms And you can have just the people that are on the board come to that meeting and then project it out in Zoom. That way it's a little more personable, and we can maybe get a little bit more things done, maybe get some things going again. So those are my suggestions. You don't have to take them, but I'd like to see if we can maybe start moving forward here. So now my last subject, and then I'll take questions, is the grass cutting. So the grass cutting bid, there's a lot to it this week. I've heard a lot of inquiries about how it happened, who got awarded the bid, and how the bid was awarded. First off, I would like to say the person that got the bid, if it was done over today, would still get the bid today, would be winning the bid today. The one thing that we have going for us is that we are young at City Hall and we're energetic, but the other thing that hurts us is the inexperience. And some of this inexperience has hurt the process and policies that we do have in place today. So for instance, what we did is we opened the bid. The process of the bid was correct. And Mr. Apollo, please correct me if I'm wrong. He was with me today. The process of the bid was correct. We opened it up on the 19th. On the 19th, the Public Works Director and the city manager at the time, the acting city manager, Jeff Bloom, worked together, and they basically said, they figured out who had the winning bid. Now, Jeff and the Public Works Director really did not communicate the next step. Okay, so there was a transition between Jeff and myself becoming the acting city manager. When this happened, the Public Works Director and his assistant put out the winning bid via email, okay, without coming to me or to council for a resolution. Now, this is due to inexperience, not due to lack of, knowledge, not due to lack of, hey, I'm trying to gig anybody. This is just due to inexperience and not knowing the process and policy that we had in place. Like I said earlier, if this was done over today, the winning bidder would be the winning bidder today. Okay, that doesn't change anything. It was just that it did not come to council for resolution for me to have the authority to sign. Now, that's all I really have on the matter, and I would be, willing to answer anything anybody has. Yes, sir, Commissioner Powell.
Is it okay, Mayor, if I?
Of course, attorney.
Okay, it's also important, I think, to note for everyone, Chief Hampton, that there still is no contract signed yet. I think the sort of the breakdown there was communication of the bid award to someone before the contract, before the recommendation had been made to council and council had an opportunity to vote on. I think that was the breakdown right there, and not quite sure. I wasn't really involved in that process, but today Chief Hampton and I, did some digging and figured out that's where the issue was. There was a communication to the person who had won the bid, or excuse me, to the person that administration wanted to recommend to council that we approved. And that would happen prior to the council voting and having a resolution. So that is the piece that should not have happened. We still right now, from my perspective, I think we still need to have something to bring to council. A recommendation as well as a resolution for council to approve before we can actually enter into a contractual agreement. Because at this point, the city manager has not been authorized to sign it.
That was going to be my next question. Did I miss the resolution? Has it come forward yet?
At this time, it has not come forward.
Yeah, we just spent, a couple hours today digging through it, trying to figure out what happened.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being so quick on the draw to let us know what's going on. I appreciate that.
Attorney Paulo and Chief, thank you for that. What we're still doing with the resolution that we just passed regarding SOPs, I would definitely want to have everything that from A to Z that happened in this instance so that we can include that in our working document. And that's what the SOP that had those public sessions on those working sessions, Attorney Paulo. So that we're still collecting everything that goes on. So I've got a sort of a notebook. And I even have a process and procedure that I did get from Chief last year, because they have the best SOP I've seen really in anybody's operation. So we're using that process. And Chief, while I've got you here, you didn't mention the banquet room. Are we taking reservations for the banquet room?
Dave, if you could help me out, I believe I said, is it June 7th? We are going to start inquiries on that.
That is correct. The banquet room is also classified as the event space. That's one of the facilities we'll be renting. We'll also be renting out rooms 1, 2, and 3 in the community center for smaller events. We're holding off on room 4 currently because we're going to be using that hopefully for the boards and commission meetings, and we don't want to have staff having to flip those all the time to get those ready. So that's kind of the plan there.
Dave,
Okay.
what time period do you need for boards and commissions if the council wishes to go this route?
Yeah, any board and commission, I would prefer that council members, because you're kind of the liaison, would reserve those rooms. I actually have a dedicated form for that, and I'd be happy to email that to you guys tomorrow. You can book out all the way through the rest of the year if you want to go ahead and do that. I'm fine with that. I just know that a lot of our meetings do occur on the same nights, different times, that kind of stuff. So if we can get that straightened out, make sure we have it on the calendar, that'd be very much appreciated. But we did set aside the Wabash room, which is the room behind my offices, as well as room 4 down the hall. Both of them are equipped with webcams, screens, and audio, so they can do the Zoom stuff. And then they also have room for your boards to be present in the room.
Thanks. Would you go ahead and just mail that out anyway? That dedicated form that you have. The other thing is, I didn't hear clearly about the banquet room. I've gotten several calls last week. People are going back getting married. Okay, so they're wanting to reserve that for receptions. And so is that going to be forthcoming? They're looking at June, July, and August.
Yes, we're going to start renting those. June 7th is the date that we will start booking the event space, which is the banquet hall, as well as the 3 rooms inside the community center.
Okay, great. I got a couple of people that'll be calling you real quick.
Sounds great.
Okay, thanks.
Dave, what about neighborhood meetings? They could start holding neighborhood meetings also?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I would classify that same as boards and commissions in my
Okay.
book. We're open to that as well.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor and Council, one other thing I would like to add is during this whole process of looking at the bid for grass, Attorney Paulo and myself, we believe that we can clean up the language on this to make it a lot easier for both the city and the person doing the bidding. And next year we look to have that rolled out for the process, new process.
Mayor Jones, I don't know.
Yes.
I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I saw Fran's hand up for quite a
Yeah,
while.
I did. I did
Okay.
see it. Thank you. Councilwoman Fran.
Thank
Griffin?
you. Thank you, Mayor Jones. I had a question for Dave in regards to the car wash. What's your goal in terms of when you're looking to have the bid and have it? I know you said you were waiting on a few things, but what's your giving yourself some cushion? Like, what's your goal of when you want to have this cleared out by?
I truthfully would like to have a bid selected in August. I have to do some work with some flood stuff I've been talking to Elliot about. We've got to get the bid specs all lined out. When this was all written, it was just kind of preliminary documentation. So we've still got some stuff to work through. A good example, because of where it's located, you can't have certain surfaces, walls, that kind of stuff, because it's on a floodplain. So everything has to be very strategic in what we're doing. So I'm working through those steps with EPA and that kind of stuff. We'll then finalize our bid documents. I would like to see the bid documents out sometime in July, worst case scenario. Usually we leave them out for about 2 to 3 weeks. We can get them back and then we can select a bidder. And then I hope to bring you guys a resolution, like I said, in August, so we can select that person and get that project rolling.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
But just like the pool, please don't hold me to it in stone.
Is there any idea, or is it something you wouldn't know till you get the bid documents back? But is there any idea of the time it should take to do that? I mean, are we looking at something that's going to take 2 weeks, a week, or 2 months? I mean, what's,
A lot's going to depend on weather. If we can execute in early fall, like we're trying to do, I think we can get it done in probably 4 to 5 months realistically. If it gets pushed and we're dealing with snow on the ground, cold temperatures, freeze lines, that kind of stuff, it may be longer. Worst case scenario, I hope to have it done by the tail end of this year. But again, construction is always questionable. You know how materials are right now, work, all that
yeah,
stuff. There's a
There's a
lot of unknowns at this point.
thank you.
Not a problem.
Mayor and Council, that's all I have at this time.
Okay, thank you. Our special presentation.
Yes, Mayor, tonight, I have two special presentations. My first special presentation is consent decree status update by Nicole Barton. Nicole?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing me to provide an update on the progress of our consent decree as we are nearing the completion of our Year 5 work plan. I'd like to start with community engagement. We've made significant progress in this area during the past year. I've been working with both the NPSC and the CRB's community engagement subcommittees to write a draft on community policing and engagement plan. That plan was submitted to the Department of Justice and the monitoring team during the last quarter. In collaboration with Community Mediation Services, we have begun our series of small group dialogues between community members and members of the police department. That began on May the 19th. And the first series of these dialogues will run bi-weekly for 3 sessions, and then we will begin the next series of dialogues. Community members may sign up for these dialogues. There is a link on the City of Ferguson's website where you can sign up to participate in the series of dialogues. Our goal is to use the feedback from these discussions to continue building our community policing and engagement plan. Further enhancing our community engagement efforts, recently myself, my practicum student, and the monitor team's community engagement specialists went out and met with members of the community to engage community members to fill out the community police survey, and also to engage community members to participate in the series of dialogues. Next, I will discuss the use of force. For the past several months, we've been working with the Department of Justice and Benchmark to develop and implement our use of force forms, our vehicle pursuit forms, and our use of force review forms. These forms will be used to report use of force by officers. Then the forms are used to review and investigate use of force by our command staff, and we use this information to track all the data pertaining to our use of force. Unfortunately, the new forms have taken a little bit longer than we expected to develop because we had to customize these particular forms to ensure that all consent decree requirements and FPD policy requirements were included in these forms. During this process, we also amended several of our use of force policies to meet best practice standards as well. We will continue working with Benchmark software to roll out our next modules, which will be our accountability section. This section includes our early intervention systems, our performance systems, and both citizen complaints and internal investigations. In regards to policy implementation, we are working with the Department of Justice and the monitor team to finalize our correctable citations policy and our persons of interest policies. We are also working on our limited English proficiency policies for both FPD and courts. Our Ferguson Force Review Board policy has been placed on the City of Ferguson website for community input. Community members can give input, and this will be accepted until June 11th. You can review and comment on this policy by clicking on the Ferguson Police Department's page, and in the center of the page, there's a link that says Policies Awaiting Review. Also, our community policing and search warrant policies have been finalized during the last quarter. In the area of training, FPD staff will be trained on community policing, citations and arrests, and citizen police mediation policies during this next month. In February of this year, Suffolk County, New York, Police Academy instructors traveled to Ferguson to conduct a train the trainer model of bias-free policing for us. This was a 24-hour training, and all of our command staff and our FPD certified trainers attended this training. On the last day of the training, we invited community members from our city council, our CRB, MPSC, training committee, and faith-based organizations to attend a teach back component of this training for community feedback. Our next steps will be for our FPD trainers to take community feedback, and then we will tweak the Suffolk County bias-free policing training to make it our own. Then we will invite members of the community back for follow-up meetings for further input. And then finally, with the DOJ and monitors approval, this will become Ferguson's own bias-free policing and first in-service training. All FPD members will be required to attend this training during 2021. We are also working with the training committee to develop and enhance our training plans for 2021 and 2022. In the area of recruitment, this year we have put forth more effort into our recruitment plan. One component of the recruitment plan was to initiate and finalize the salary study to determine where Ferguson stood in comparison with other agencies in St. Louis County. After gathering all the statistics and working with the Department of Justice to finalize the salary study, it was determined in most positions, the Ferguson Police Department was below average, and in some positions, significantly below average in comparison with other agencies. But we are hopeful to make some improvements in this area moving into the next fiscal year. Finally, we are in the process of an audit. With the progress of our use of force policies and implementation, the monitor team has initiated the first FPD audit. We have turned over all documents requested to the monitor team to complete phase 1 and phase 2 of this audit. And we are now currently in phase 3 of this audit and are providing the monitor team and the DOJ with all body worn and in-car camera footage, officer and witness statements, audio and video recordings, police reports, and photographs pertaining to those requested documents in the audit to complete phase 3. The monitor team will report out their findings of this audit at a later date. We are still on task with the goals that we have set out for ourselves for this year's work plan. That's all I have.
That's outstanding.
Thank you.
Nicole, this is Tony. I am so grateful for the report. And I just want to give you a great shout out for way back in September last year when we decided to take the training. And we all took training that turned out to be our town hall that Proud hosted for us. So job well done. I'm not in the least bit concerned about that low grade because I know with the way we're going right now, we will more than surpass that. So chin up, good job, good job.
Thanks. You.
Thank you for the report.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Nicole. If nothing else, nothing from council, I'm going to move forward with our second presentation, which is from the Ferguson Neighborhood News, and that's Tony Lanero and Bob McCartland.
Hi, guys.
Good evening. Hello.
Hey, listen, before I start, I just want to point out to the street department, if we run out of salt this winter, Dave was the first one to bring up the word snow this year. So that's all I'm going to say on that. No. By now, everybody has you know, had some discussion about what we're doing now and everything. So I'm assuming, did you guys all receive the letter? And I'm speaking to the council, Mayor?
Yes, we received the letter.
Okay, wonderful. So we are at a point now, kind of that break even point where we wanted to be next. We haven't picked up another city yet. We feel like we're on the cusp, but I think as things open up, everybody's focus is kind of going in different directions right now. But what we're looking for is just to continue a partnership with advertisement, to keep our city information in the newspaper for the residents. I don't see a Ferguson neighborhood news without Ferguson neighborhood news in it.
Without Ferguson City Hall News.
Yeah, and I feel like there's questions or things that there, and I just want to know what the feelings are on it.
So we'll open it up for questions.
Hello?
Councilwoman Robinette.
Sorry, hang on here. Okay, so you said you're at the break-even point. When we had discussed this last year that we were going to continue it, I thought the goal was that you guys would be more self-sustaining and that you would look to a better model of maybe subscription-based or some sort of pay for the people who are receiving it mailed. Like nobody gets a paper for free mailed to their house anymore. I know that you've got advertisers, and I just think there's a digital version of, a different version online that is no cost for the city to put stuff out there. I want to know your plan to get the city out from under the amount that's being paid right now.
Well, and that's the city can be out from under that. So what we're asking for is advertising. Like in the letter we said, the money hasn't gone wasted. The money that was given to Dorothy, the money that's been given to us has gone towards those 2 pages. That's what it would normally cost to print those 2 pages. With where we're at right now, and forgive me, the paper is self-sufficient. So as far as a subscription for the paper, our idea is to keep it, the way the advertisement's been coming in, I can see it. I don't think there's ever going to be a reason to charge for the newspaper locally to our citizens. It's been something that's been a part of the community for, 22 years before us and prior to that. And we feel that's still our one thing that hits the households every month. Our advertisers are starting, the new ones are starting to see that and feel that too. So our growth is monthly. This is the first month we've actually upped our number of copies, but as far as advertisers and things like that, every month is a growth for us, and it's been a huge success so far.
So just to be clear on how so in the past, we've heard this or seen this as the city of Ferguson was in some manner for lack of a better word, subsidizing the paper. That is no longer the case. So what this letter that you sent us and what this conversation is about today or tonight at this moment is the fact that the question is, does the city of Ferguson want to be an advertiser in this paper? Yes. Because if you're going to be an advertiser in this paper, and because you're Ferguson and because the paper has your name on it, and because it's been a historically 20-year plus partnership, then you're willing to work with us on the cost of those 2 pages or the repetition of those 2 pages, whether it be monthly or bi-monthly or whatever the case may be. So it's really a matter of you offering the city of Ferguson a better price because we've been partners for so long. And are we as a council, or are we as a city going to agree to that and be part of that? Because if we don't, that's okay too. You guys can say, okay, fine, you don't have us. But then when it comes in the future, like if we as the city council or the city staff says, hey, we need to get something in the Ferguson Times, we're going to be paying the retail rate. We're not paying the rate that you're offering tonight. We're going to be paying what everybody else pays. So the option is right now, do you want, as a council, you're asking us, do you want to be in our paper at this rate and we can count on you as a continued partner or not. Am I correct, guys?
That is correct, Linda. And we submitted the rate at $1,100 a page versus $1,500 a page. That's the normal rate, advertising rate for anybody at this particular time. So we wanted to at least come back to offer the city at, they're the only ones that would be getting this reduced rate and continuing their partnership with the paper. We also feel the demographics of our community with still plenty of older residents continue to read the newspaper. Even our distribution copies, almost all of them are picked up every month. We have very few left over. And then now with it opening up, like Tony says, we're gonna be putting that many more, doubling the amount.
Store copies
Out for the community to pick up and to read. And so it's not, I think we still have a very good demographics of people, older residents that continue to read the newspaper and get the information that's going on from the city. So it's still a value to our residents. And they would continue to receive the paper with the city or without your information in it.
So I'd just like to make one more point if I could. So the 2 pages, historically there's, the mayor's letter, there's, some information about City Hall, but then the majority of those 2 pages is really Parks Department and what's going on or events. And it's my understanding that the Parks Department sends out its own mailer to the same list that the Ferguson Neighborhood News uses. So people are getting that brochure, I think it might be quarterly, of what's going on in the Parks Department. So, I would be okay with 1 page as opposed to 2 to get city information out there, but I don't see the need for duplicating effort with what the Parks is putting out there. That's my 2 cents.
Well, it's the Parks Department currently is twice a year. It's not quarterly. Quarterly is something that they've talked about going to, but my understanding is that, it's historically been twice a year. And a while ago, way back, a couple years ago, Dorothy even offered to put the brochure in the paper and fold it up and mail it out and take care of those costs. And for some reason, we turned her down.
Dave, you can finish speaking after Linda.
So, I'm just saying there's so many possibilities here. And, the other thing is too, if I think it's valuable personally that we advertise in there. If we feel like the dollar amount is too high, then we can advertise a little bit less. But I think the partnership, the information getting out there, there's a lot of citizens that don't do digital. There's a lot of citizens that don't get out, your senior citizens that depend on that paper being mailed to them and depend on that information. There's a lot of people that absolutely love the mayor's columns, both of them, the one from the past and the current one. And that's how they get their information. So, if a 2-page spread seems like it's too much, then maybe we take a 2-page spread on Thanksgiving, or we take a 2-page spread at July 4th, or we take a 2-page spread on December, to promote. And then maybe we do a full page every other month. I'm just saying to my fellow council members, we can create what we need, and we can create it within the budget that we want to spend. And I don't think it has to be all or nothing is what I'm trying to say.
Okay, thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Dave?
I just wanted to clarify that the Parks brochure is sent out currently 3 times a year. It's sent out for winter, summer, and fall. And you're correct, we were doing it quarterly. The part about Dorothy and putting ours in there, she told us we weren't able to. We did go down that road, but they're actually printed in two different methods because it's a glossy paper and it's a quarter full versus a newspaper. So they couldn't be implemented together. And that's why we didn't do that, because we had explored that about 5 years ago. But just wanted to clarify.
Thanks, Dave. This is Tony. I got a question, Dave. When was the last time you sent out one of those brochures, and when will be the next time?
Last time we sent one was pre-COVID, because you weren't allowed to pick up any papers during COVID because of germ spread, that kind of stuff. We currently have a digital version that we could have printed on our website right now. It's at fergusonrec.com or fergrec.com. We will print a hard copy in the fall. It'll go out in September, just like we used to.
So let me just get this down. We had not sent out one since 2020?
It was winter of 2021, I believe, is when we sent it. Right,
So that
right before COVID hit in last March.
Okay, so if it was in last March, this past March?
Correct.
Okay, so it was sent this past March, like 2 months ago.
No, 2020, not 2020.
Right, okay, you said 21. Okay, I thought that. Okay, so 2020 has not been sent out in a year. We have not sent one out in 2021 at all. Is that correct?
That's correct. We went all digital and they're available online only right now.
Okay, so your next one going out, for those citizens that don't do digital, blah, 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 can you give me real close to the date? Is it going to be in June? Is it going to be in May? Is it going to be in July?
It'll be September 1st.
Thank you. That's what I was wanting. We had brought this up the other night, and so I was trying to think. I didn't think I had seen one, and I thought when we talked some weeks ago, I knew that wasn't happening, but somebody seemed to think it was. Just want to get that cleared up for some other folks as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any additional questions?
I have a question. This is Fran.
Councilwoman Griffith.
Well, I was just going to say that I'm all for taking us into the newer age with technology, but I also understand that a lot of us don't have that technology. And so I think in terms of us communicating, I don't want to make it harder for us to share information. I want to make it easier for us. And for me, I do actually enjoy receiving the Ferguson Times. I know there's a lot of people that have actually gotten used to it arriving at their house. So, they're looking for it every day. That's why there's not, much hoopla about we got to go to the internet, because they're used to utilizing what comes right there to their doorstep. And it makes it easier for them to be able to know on a monthly basis what's going on, not just with the city of Ferguson, but just overall community. And so for that, as before, I was in favor of it. Just for those reasons, I don't want to make us sharing information harder for the community. I want to make it easier. I agree with Linda in terms of if it's something that, we don't need all the time, let's look at ways where we can, do that. And I think that would be more like a question for Octavia. Octavia, do you send that stuff out on a monthly basis to the Ferguson Times?
I do send articles to the Times monthly. I do.
Yeah.
But as it was previously stated, a lot of it is parks.
Right. A lot of it is parks. But again, we're talking about right now with COVID, they've moved completely online. So again, that kind of blocks the folks that don't have the online. I want them to stay informed. And if we can find a feasible way to do that, I'm in favor of that.
Councilwoman Linda Lipka.
Thank you. So a couple of things. First of all, what I want to be really clear on with everybody, in our council, if we go with the retail rate at $15,000 or $1,500 a page and a 2-page spread, we're looking at $3,000 a month, which comes out to $36,000. We're being offered $1,100 a page, 2-page spread. If you go every month with a 2-page spread, you're at $2,200 a month, and you're looking at $26,400. You're saving $9,600. Okay. That being said, if I'm fine with the 26,400 personally, but if my fellow council members are not, then what I would suggest is that we come up with a number that we are comfortable with, that's going to give us proper amount of advertising, that's going to inform our citizens and allows us to have maybe more advertising on certain seasons of the year or so forth. The other thing I will say too, I know that it's been brought up in the past that it's like pulling teeth to get content for the pages from the staff. But you know, we've had, and I want to address, you know, Mildred Klein's in her public comments made a good point. It's something that has frustrated the heck out of me since day one of sitting on council, and that is not being able to answer the public comments. Why couldn't we create an article that's here's an answer to this comment? You know, why couldn't we create something on there that introduces new employees? Like the fire department has a phenomenal website, your Facebook page, and they put out a little video of their new employees. You could also do a quick bio and introduce new firefighters, introduce new police officers, human interest type of thing. We could also have projects updated, like we're talking about this tonight. There's only a handful of people on this call right now in comparison to the size of our community and in comparison of the circulation rate of the paper. What if everybody in the community that gets the paper flipped over to the Ferguson page and saw Director of Public Services has filled the holes on Emmett and so forth, and you know, great job, Ferguson, this is your dollars at work. I think we're missing a lot of opportunities, and I agree with Fran tremendously. We cannot afford to give up a line of communication. If you don't like the cost of 26,400, which I personally do, because if you go and look at advertising rates in any other thing, you're going to be spending that or a lot more. But if you're not comfortable there, then let's go with 22,000. Let's see what 22,000 gets. Maybe 1 month we have 1 page, maybe 1 month we have 2 pages. That's what I'm asking the city council. What is the council's pleasure on the amount? Because, and I hope the council sees the value in maintaining our advertising dollars with this paper.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Acting City Manager Hampton. Is there a vote that's needed tonight? If not, is this something that we could figure out the dollar amount? I know there was another mention of a possible budget thing. Is this something that can be brought up there that can be, you know, hashed out with the exact what they want?
I think we don't need to take a vote tonight. It needs to be explored a little bit more. And then we, you know, after we explore it, we will be able to better talk with Bob about the paper.
But Mayor, doesn't this need to be explored prior to our public hearing for the budget? Because we need to have this included in our on the budget we're currently working on. And I have already requested a meeting to discuss 3 issues of the budget for Thursday afternoon. This could be added to that conversation.
Yes.
Yes, you can add it to that conversation. That'd be great.
I have my hand up.
Okay. Councilwoman Burrow.
I'm with Chief. I think that we've discussed this on many occasions. And when we delineated to what Linda is talking about, whether we go every other month, I think that's inconsistent. That inconsistency would probably confuse people more than anything, especially our seniors. And I'm right there with the senior age. Oh, I thought we were going to have this or that this month. So, Chief, I understand what you're saying as well. I think that we could do that right now. We have Bob and we have Tony online. And if you don't want to take that right now, because we don't have to hash this out. Either we're going to do the 26.4, or we're going to do half, or we're going to do a third, whatever it is, because we got to have how many pages are you going to do for what dial? And so, Bob, if we're going to, we have to have this by Thursday. If we're going to put it in this budget this year, we can't be playing around with that, because because we would end up having Lexi redoing work if we don't do this right, Chief, if we don't do it now. because she'd have to redo everything that she would put in. So that has to be under consideration, that a lot of people don't know that that's what happens. So if the two guys would go back and send us right away what we can do, what the amount is, can we put a placeholder and say, this is how much we want to give, this is how much we want to pay, you figure out what you can do for that. Does that make sense to this diocese right now? We just give a dollar amount and say, this is how much we can buy. And Tony and Bob, I think that the two of you know what that cost could be. Is it 26.4? Can it be 20? Can you tell me that right now?
Tony, I'm not sure what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me get that right for you. Here's what we want to do. What I'm suggesting is we give a blanket amount. Linda has already told us, we already know that it's 26.4. That's what you asked for. 2,600. Is it 2,600 is 2,400? Linda, what's the number?
It's $26,400.
26.4. Heather, can I ask you a question? If you were to say right now we had a blanket amount, what would you say?
Well, Tony, we haven't heard from 3 of the council members.
Yeah, I was going to go around. So,
okay. Well, no, so I will, if the council is in favor of doing this, I voiced my opinions. I think that advertising in a local paper that gets delivered to people for free is an antiquated model, and I voiced that. But whatever the council determines is the amount, I will go along with.
Okay. Councilwoman Favor and also Councilwoman Noor, would you consider the 26.4?
This is Councilwoman Noor. I definitely support keeping the paper. You know, I do. I enjoy receiving the paper. So, you know, I won't go against. I won't vote against it, honestly, because
Thank you.
I support the paper.
Thank you. Councilwoman Favor, could you tell me what would you think would be feasible?
I'm sorry about that, Councilwoman Burr. I was still on mute.
Okay, I do that all the time. I get it.
I'm in agreement with the paper. I like to still be able to receive the paper. So I'm in agreement with the paper. I have no problem with that.
Mayor Jones, would you say yes to 26.4?
What I'm saying is that we need to work up a number and take it to Bob and Tony to see exactly is the number feasible, and then do this on Thursday night.
Mayor, that's what we're doing right now, though. The number has already been presented. It was presented in the letter that Bob and Tony sent us. The number in the letter is 26,400. And the question Tony is pushing around the circle is, are we all comfortable with that? Are we willing to go with that? And I mean, I hear what you're saying, Mayor. I think if we all agree on that, then on Thursday, we already know that that's a finished topic on our list of topics.
Well, Councilwoman Noor, she says she will support the paper. Councilwoman
Nelson,
but they didn't give a dollar amount.
I asked that. I said, well, we go.
No, she did ask that.
I did ask that 26.4. And so I'm thinking that we're there. I'm asking you, so already we got the count to say yes. Everybody wants the paper. You and I talked about this last week. We want our seniors to have it. Fran said it just exactly right. So I'm not going to repeat what anybody else said. I'm a digital person like Heather is. I'm technology, but I'm looking at our citizens. What would they prefer? And when we look at that, we have no choice but to say yes to this paper. If we're talking about what can we do for our citizens, we already know that we need something that can make our citizens feel like they're part of this community. I think this paper is it. We need, so already we have the vote of yes, because we already asked that question. I just wanted you in on it. Are you okay with 26.4?
I'm Okay, for the paper period. So I don't have any problems with the paper because I know seniors are looking for the paper. So I don't have no problems.
Okay, so
Okay,
26 is good.
Fran. Councilwoman Griffin, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just wanted to say, yes, I am in favor of keeping the newspaper. I do want us to be able to actually look at what's feasible. I think if we have a meeting on Thursday, especially if there's, I think Ms. Lipka said either 2 or 3 other items that she wanted to address. 3 other items. Thank you, Ms. That she wanted to address, then that gives us time to give what we're able to do, present it to us, and then we look at that, because if there's 3 other line items, then we need to kind of, the whole purpose in approving the budget is to get it balanced first. So I want to find out what those other items are and how they affect our budget, and how we can put, how we can put it in and make it fit without going over. So I personally would like to put it on the Thursdays. If we're already going to have a meeting to talk about 3 other issues, I would prefer to put it on Thursday so we can look at those numbers overall and figure out what we do. And that'll also let us know in terms of what is feasible, what we can do with this newspaper as well.
Okay, Councilwoman Robinette.
So it should still be in the budget. I mean, the amount that was proposed should still be in the budget. So this isn't an addition. It's a discussion of the amount, which I think, the majority of the council thinks that the amount for advertising for the year is in line with what's proposed. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm anti-senior people. Let me just put that out there.
You crossed the mark, honey. You already with us.
I don't want that rumor started. I'm just looking at this from a budgetary perspective, where we look at everything and we scrutinize what we're spending. And so, with the majority of the council on board for it, I will support it too.
Okay.
And I will
remember, it's already in the budget.
It is in the budget.
So that's
okay, Councilwoman Griffin, then it's not already,
yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
No, they took it out of the budget. It did not appear in the work session. It is not in the budget. We will have to put it back in the budget. It's in the 2020-21 budget, but not in the 2021-22 budget. Interim city manager.
Yes, ma'am, you are correct. It is not in the budget for this current year coming up. We were under the impression that that we were done.
But I asked for a placeholder, if you would recall. Oh, I'm sorry, Octavia. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Octavia.
I was just gonna say that at the last meeting, the request motion was made that it's placed as a placeholder. However, there were no funds attached to it.
Right.
Okay.
I placed that placeholder there myself. So that's how I know that it's there. It's already there.
And
it's no funds attached to the placeholder. It's just there.
But it's
no
just
funds
there,
attached.
which means that the line item, excuse me, Mayor, the line item is already there. So that's what's important, that the line item is already there. And we all, since Councilwoman Robinette just went along with the whole team, then that is a go right there. It's already been sealed.
Councilwoman Griffin, and then we'll move on.
No, I have one more thing.
Yeah. So, thank you, Mayor Joe. So I was just going to say, I don't want to simply do majority rules and we X out what Heather is saying, because I think balancing the budget is important. And even if we did put a placeholder, I still feel like, if we, going back to what Ms. Lipka said, if we can find a feasible way to do it, so that we can figure out, what works best for us, and we ain't just going with a strict flat 26, then let's actually do that. Let's look at it and see what we can do. But I still feel that we need to discuss it with the other 3 issues, because I want to know what those line items are, how much those cost as well, So when we're talking about either taking out or putting in something, we know how that affects our overall budget, especially if we don't have any monies, according to what Mr. Hampton said, if we don't have any monies allocated in that line item. And then I would also say, just from going over the budget, for those of you know, whenever we have something that's been put in that particular line item the year before or the year before that, that line item is going to stay on there, even if we choose not to budget anything in there. So that was just more for the public awareness, because I asked the question during the budget meeting and that was the response that I got.
Councilwoman Lipka, and then we'll move on.
So I will just say that if the fellow council members will take, I hope they will, take the time to read my email. You know, if you give me approval on those 3 things that I want to cut from the budget, you save $7,600 right there. And it's not a lot, but it's still something. And that brings your price down to 18.8 if you go with the 26.4. So I mean, there's ways to cut this. I also have some other things I can cut, but I'll be happy to bring them up as well. But yeah, I just feel like we are balancing the level. We are making a lot of cuts and we're doing things for the right reasons, but we also have to maintain some level of comfort for our citizens. And the Ferguson Times is a level of comfort. It's a level of communication. It's a level of, it's a hug. I mean, it's a way that people connect. And so we've cut a lot of things. I think that at some point we gotta have a heart on this one.
That's
Okay.
the number that I was using, Linda, that you sent us earlier today. That's the number that I had. And we do go by majority rule with the budget. I just want to put that out there so the citizens understand. Majority rule does run when we do a budget.
Okay, lastly, interim city manager, John Hampton, and then we'll hear from Bob and Tony. Okay.
So I have nothing further on the issue. I know we'll take it up on Thursday. We'll be glad to look at it, look at everything. And that's all I would have, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we just want to thank the council for having us present our proposal tonight and your open discussion and the comments that were made. They're all well taken. And in between time, if any council member wants to email us or contact us with any questions, we're happy to answer them, and we'll get right back to you because we know time is of the essence of wrapping things up here. So
Thank you for all the time you guys have put into this last year. I've discovered a new sense of community here too, just with everything. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is our consent agreement, city council meeting minutes, budget meeting minutes for May 18, 2021. Are there any corrections? If none, I'm requesting a motion and a second to approve the minutes.
Frank Griffin, so moved. Councilwoman Noah, second.
It has been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? The ayes have it. The meeting minutes are entered into the records. We don't have anything for boards and commission, no appointments, no requests. We do have a proclamation honoring Eagle Scout Craig Anthony T. Moore. And it reads, whereas the purpose of the Boy Scouts of America, incorporated on February 8th, 1910, and chartered by Congress in 1916, is to provide and educate program for boys and young adults to build character, to train in the responsibility of participating citizens, and to develop personal fitness. And whereas Craig Anthony T. Moore is an active member of the Boy Scout Troop 608. He achieved the rank of Eagle Scout on January the 3rd, 2021. To help accomplish this task, he attended Field Mount Camp in Cimarron, New Mexico, where he served as the Troop Wilderness Guide, earning many merit badges toward his Eagle Scout rank. And whereas for his Eagle Scout project, he made shelving for the St. Louis area diaper bank and its initiative, the St. Louis Alliance for Period Supplies, located in Wellston, Missouri. And whereas Craig Anthony attends McClure High School and is the highest ranking cadet of JROTC, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Moore has maintained a 4.2 GPA throughout his entire high school career. He has also been inducted in the National Honor Society and National Society of High School Scholars. His participation in Harris Stowe University TRIO program yield him the Board of Regattes scholarship to attend in the fall. In addition, Craig Anthony was recently nominated for Prom King and won. And whereas he is also the percussion leader of MSH Marching and Jazz Band and serves as the team captain for the Spirit of New Northside Missionary Baptist Church drumline. He is a drummer of Ecclesia Church of Christ and a youth counselor and lifeguard for Sherwood Forest Camp. And whereas through his active community involvement and good citizenship, Craig Anthony has demonstrated his personal character of living the Scout oath and law in his daily life and has shown to be an asset to our Ferguson community. Now, therefore, I, Ella Jones, Mayor of the City of Ferguson, Missouri, on behalf of the Ferguson City Council, do hereby commend Craig Anthony T. Moore for his outstanding achievement at attending Eagle Scout and for his dedication to excellence in leadership and as a scholar. Presented this 25th day of May, 2021. We congratulate Craig Anthony T. Moore for his work as being an Eagle Scout. Our next item on the agenda, resolutions. Resolution number 2021-11. Without objection, we are introduced by council members present. I hear none. Attorney Carey, please read the resolution.
Yes, ma'am. Resolution number 2021-11. A resolution authorizing the interim city manager to execute a contract between the city of Ferguson and can't pronounce it if I mispronounce it, but it's Halcyon Levine, to prepare a revised and updated zoning, subdivision, and sign code for the city of Ferguson.
Interim city manager, please explain.
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to refer to Elliot Leeson on this. Elliot.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Members of council, good evening. Let me just read something briefly here. This project would revise the entire sign, subdivision, and zoning codes. Right now, these three codes intertwine around each other and have been adjusted several times, or not, as in the case of the subdivision code, to the point that they are not always clear or consistent with each other. And to reiterate Alan's point from earlier, the code hasn't caught up with things like the internet, the incidents of 2014, COVID, or the ongoing demographic changes in the community. This is not a project that a planning department takes on by itself. Even if we weren't short-staffed, it is a major time commitment to review the code, interview key stakeholders, engage the community, draft new regulations, draw the maps, and develop the user's guide. It will take every bit of the next 12 months for the consultants. And this is a team of 5 consultant staff persons dedicated to this project to put this together. And even with their team running point, there's still going to be plenty of work for Bailey and I to do to assist them. Now, in addition to the time issue, the consultants have a perspective and a best practices knowledge base that we do not have by virtue of the fact of the number of the other cities that they have worked with. They can also provide an objective viewpoint when reviewing ideas and suggestions that we cannot, because we're looking at it like this, and they're looking at it from out here. Finally, per the state statute, zoning code has to be based on a consistent and defensible plan approved by the city. Our comprehensive plan is those things, but now that it's approved, we have to bring the zoning and the other codes in line with the plan. And revising the zoning code is one of the key implementation strategies recommended in the comprehensive plan. And that's what I wanted to say at the outset, and I'll take questions at this point.
Councilwoman Robinette, then Councilwoman Griffin.
So, I feel like I heard both Nick's comments and Alan's comments, that are both sides of the coin. And I actually agree with both to some extent. And, with this being, I just questioned advertising for $26,000, and here's $130,000, contract that we're looking to sign, that we really haven't seen anything. It didn't come before council prior. We didn't see, they didn't give a presentation. We interviewed the different companies for branding, for example. So I just wonder if we could just hold off and have some more discussion about who put in who put in for the RFP, and maybe there's another company that's far less than 130,000 that can have 3 people do it for a discounted rate. I don't want to wholesale sign off on $130,000 without having seen what they're bringing to the table. It's just my 2 cents. I feel like I'm a big naysayer tonight, but I'm really happy for the Eagle Scout.
Okay, Councilwoman Griffin, then Councilwoman Burrow, and then Councilwoman Lipka.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just appreciate Elliot for kind of filling in the blanks, and maybe we can talk about what that process looked like and how we got to that decision, to kind of fill in the blanks, so folks will understand what that looked like. And so, Elliot, I'm hoping maybe you can kind of expand on that part a little bit more. But in terms of, I know all three companies that actually submitted, out of all of those, I got a chance to look over the applications and just compare those. There were folks that were part of the planning committee who actually sat in on those interviews, and that was also presented to the planning committee, and the planning committee then therefore voted to their recommendations to support this resolution. I was also glad that Elliot was able to describe in very short form, what is going to be required in order to do this. And just like Elliot said, even if they, with Chris and Elliot working together, they're gonna need some extra hands to be able to do this. And so, and it also has that component of getting the feedback from the community to find out how it aligns. And so all of this is not to take and completely wipe out what already exists. I think it's to do it in a way to where it all blends in. It blends in with the comprehensive plan. It blends in with some of the plans that already exist in certain areas. And again, the time thing and how much work is going to be required is why the Planning Commission ultimately decided to support this particular resolution.
Elliot?
Yes, so let me address briefly Heather's point. So this is a process, I mean, it is a very large, as I mentioned, piece of work that needs to be done. Just to go into a little more detail about what we did to get here, the request for RFPs went out in January, late January. We got 4 bids in February. We reviewed them, determined that the top 3 were ones that merited further discussion. So we had interviewed the team leaders of each consulting firm, reviewed their references, and then because we determined that from a capability standpoint, they all seem to be in a similar position, that we wanted to interview them with the Plan Commission, with members of council, with and see what the feeling was, that if there would be a click. And this group clicked with everybody. And as I said, there's a significant amount of work, a very large amount of work that needs to be done to get this done. And this is one of the key pieces of the marketing package that we can take to the world. We've done the comprehensive plan. It's a really good plan, and that's part of the picture. We did the West Florissant zoning. We're updating our branding. It goes on and on and on. And to not do the zoning code right now and these other codes, to have it consistent with our plan, our comp plan, and all the other pieces of the process that we're dealing with right now, it means that we're going out to the world to promote ourselves with one hand tied behind our back, functionally. I mean, I appreciate the desire. It's a chunk of change. There's no question. But it's the work. That's the amount of work that it's going to take to get it done.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Lipka, then Councilwoman Borrow. You're muted.
Probably the best moment of the whole night for everybody. Anyway, so I have been on both sides of this fence. I mean, I totally agree that, we have to get this zoning in place. I'm no doubt on that. But $130,000 is a little more than I can handle right now. And I will also say that I read through everything that I could get my hands on. And it seems to me that the comments were that you didn't interview one of the 4. They didn't come into play, but the other 3 presentations were all good, is what I got. But you just felt like this particular company really stood out because they were so energetic and they were so on board and so forth. when you make a presentation, your whole intent is to sell. You got to sell yourself, you got to sell your product, you got to sell your ideas, you got to sell your energy. So these people sold it. I get that. But you guys said yourselves that the other companies were all capable, and we've got one here that is willing to do the work, and they're based in St. Louis, which the company that you've picked is not based in St. Louis, at $57,280. I mean, that's much more feasible. That is much more capable. And the other thing I would say is that, you know, what are we exactly getting for what we spend when it's all said and done? And we go through another firm that has come into Ferguson and spent another 12 months having all these meetings. I mean, we did an 18-month of the 2040 plan. We did the branding. We've done, I mean, we're beating everybody with these long-term things. But that being said, at the end, we're not getting actual changes. We're simply getting recommendations for change. And really the bottom line is, council members, we're the ones that make the zoning changes. It comes down to us. The only people who can change the zoning is the council members. And you know, and I read through the RFP. The RFP pinpoints beautifully exactly, you know, what we need. I mean, you laid out your own work schedule if we did it in-house. And so I lean more toward a compromise. I lean more towards something in the middle. I want to hold off on this. I don't want to do 130,000 tonight. I want to see a compromise. I want to see something that's under $60,000. And if that means hiring H3, okay, if you like them, go for it. Or what about the compromise of using the work needs that you laid out in the RFP as your agenda for your own work process, and then bringing in a consultant or another pair of hands to help get those things done. And I also feel like we're going to have a new city manager. I would like to have that person have some say so in this as well. So those are my thoughts. I mean, take them for what they are, but I feel like this needs to be hashed out more. And to go to Heather's point before I close, when those other companies came, they made their presentations. We did not see a presentation as a council, you know, and if you made a recommendation to us for a firm, I would have liked to have seen the recommendation for a firm and then that firm do a presentation to us like we've done with everything else from spot shotter to branding.
Okay, Councilwoman Burrow and then Attorney Apollo.
Thank you. I said enough already about presentations that the whole council don't know about. Enough already. I want to put on my project manager hat for a second. And maybe Nick was too much thinking that we had the person in place already that could do the work. Speaking of Elliot, maybe he was wrong about that. But from a project manager standpoint, when you put all the ducks in a row and you spread it out to different people, I understand that we're limited over in that area where Ella is sitting. I don't think good thought was put into all of this as far as having the right heads in mind. Linda said it best. The decision for this is made on this diocese right here. And if we don't know about it, and if we're not sure how it went, and I'm not saying those people that was in planning or those people that were somewhere else didn't make the right decision, but the main decision was not made. And that's taking it up with this group here, this square. So if you couldn't get that done, then I'm a little concerned about what you're bringing to us. You're bringing this saying, here, give me 130 G's of citizens' money, because all of us that sit around the table that said it was good. No, that's not why I'm sitting in this seat. 130 G's, Elliot said, it's a little change. That's more than a little change. When we're talking about the budget that we just went through for 3 or 4 or 5 days and still not done with it, we was over here talking about 26 $2,600 like it was $2,600,000. And now we want a little bit of change, 130. I resent that, really. So I think we ought to table this till next year, because I'm thinking something is missing. To give Linda credit, yeah, I'd come in with my tap shoes on too if I could tap you out of 130 grand. And so that's what happened. We just jailed, we just clicked. I can make you click too if I want 130 grand. What I'm saying is we need some more information before we say yes. And I think we should wait. I understand the zoning process. I understand it well. And so I'm not just saying, oh, just say no for no. I know what I'm talking about here. We can get this done, but I don't think the time is now. I really don't. I think we're to stop and hold. And I think we're to get used to stopping at this place first. To expect for this council to say yes to something that we haven't seen and don't know what was on top, what was on 13. In a case like this RFP, it ought to read like the budget read. Why are we paying for those many people? And then why do we keep skipping over all these schools that we got here? We could go to the schools and say, this is the project that we're mandating. Mizzou did a project for me last year with the students, and I'm telling you, I could have paid $200,000. They did it for free. I don't understand why we won't look at these schools we got. They asked me this year, you want another project? Guess what I said? Yes. They're gonna save me $150,000 for free. I think, Elliot, you need to stop and go to the schools and see what they can do for us as far as project managing is concerned. When we get them to write us a project manager, they got professors doing this stuff. When we get them to write a project manager, where they get their answers from are all these businesses. They asked them, we want to come and benchmark you. We could have got it done for free, I'm sure of it. I do it all the time. So I'm thinking we need to go back to the drawing board. We need to put on a project management hat. We need to understand that we need to come to the council first, because we wouldn't have to take the citizens' time tonight to talk about, we don't need to spend 130 G's for this at this time. If you look at that budget and we squawking about $2,600, we ought to for real be saying no to this one. Thanks so much for listening.
Thank you, Councilwoman Burrow. Attorney Apollo Carey.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to share with the council as well as the public, sort of from the legal perspective, what some of the issues that I, as the city attorney, experience due to the inconsistent nature of the various different codes and stuff that we have. So, I sit in on planning commission meeting. Well, historically, I've sat in on planning commission meetings, Board of Adjustment meetings. And also I sit in on meetings when, with citizens, when there's questions about, the use of their property and, whether or not, someone wants to buy a property, can they continue on with a particular use? And I can say, that the way the codes read now, we have the form-based code, we have the regular Ferguson zoning code, we've got the West Florissant district code. There are just complications to making those codes read together, and some of the districts overlap. So you can have, the regular Ferguson zoning code, overlapping with the West Florissant code, sometimes the downtown code. And so there's some language that just from a legal perspective needs to be updated and made consistent throughout each one of those codes. And doing that will mitigate potential liability for the city. I mean, there are times when, Elliot or Bailey or somebody from the city have to make a judgment call when the language isn't clear. And you'll have, a citizen who, may be eyeing litigation against the city because they feel like the city's not, the city's either being discriminatory or they're not, being arbitrary or capricious in the way they are enforcing the code. And part of the complication is that the codes are just inconsistent. So I just want to say the longer we leave that out there, the more from a legal perspective, we have issues or situations where the city has to make judgment, when I say the city, I mean administrators, folks who are interpreting the code on a daily basis and interacting with citizens in doing so. Have to make judgment calls with language that is just either unclear or antiquated or just blatantly inconsistent with other applicable language in the city. So I make no judgments about the timing of when something's supposed to be done or the cost of how much it's supposed to cost. I'm making no judgment. That's not my place to make that judgment. I just wanted to let the council and the citizens know that, having the code the way it is now create both administrative issues as well as the potential for legal issues to, arise if we don't solve it, relatively quickly. So that's all I have to add.
Thank you, Attorney Carey, Councilwoman Noah, Councilwoman Griffin, and Councilwoman Lipka, and then we'll give Elliot opportunity to respond.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is Councilwoman Noah. I just wanted to ask about the funds to pay for the project. Were they approved in last year's budget? Well, 2020 through 2021, which is the current budget that we're in. But were the funds, they were approved in the budget, right? Or no? Can someone explain that?
$70,000 was in the budget for moving forward on some zoning work. And what the comment was is from when I talked to Lexi this week regarding the budget and getting myself up to speed after not being able to go to the budget meetings. The motion will be, when the budget is presented, it is going to be presented with $70,000 from economic development sales tax being moved from this current budget that we're in right now into the 21-22 budget. And then it would require an additional funding of about $40,000 for the cost to be covered of this particular request. So, honestly, Councilwoman Noah, that goes back to one of the points I was making earlier. If we are moving 70,000 and we do have a firm that's willing to do this for 53,000, we can afford to pay for it already with money left over and get the job done. So anyway, I hope that helps you.
Okay, Councilwoman Griffin, and then we'll move to Councilwoman Burrow. Your hand is still up. Do you have?
No, I took it down and put it back.
Okay, all right. Then Councilwoman Griffin, and we'll move to City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. So I'm glad Linda brought that up about the cost. Elliot and I talked about that between the three ones, and there's a reason why one was listed so much lower. I will let Elliot speak to that in terms of what is missing, what they wouldn't do that wouldn't be covered. So, and I also appreciate Ms. Linda bringing up the conversation about the line item, and thank you as well, Ms. Noah, about the line item from this current budget of 70,000 then going into next year's, because it would in fact be somewhere around 40. That being said, I just wanted to mention that, and I'm hoping, Elliot, you can touch on specifically the difference between the prices, what was there and what was not.
Yeah, briefly, there was a number of, for the firm that had the lowest bid, the services of assisting with the adoption of the code, where they work it with us to present to the council at the end and to the Plan Commission, were not included in their bid, and that brings it up closer to $70,000. And then for the second lowest bid, they did not include the cost of creating a user's guide, which we don't consider an optional service because of the amount of good response we've gotten from the user's guide for West Florissant, and that brought theirs up another $10,000 in itself. So, things like that where we listed out in the RFP the things that we were looking for, and they were brought back as optional in the lowest bids.
Okay, thank you. City manager.
Yes, ma'am, Mayor. All I was gonna do is I was gonna have Lexi talk on the budget if we needed any clarification, but it sounds like everybody is clear on the budget unless you want Lexi to give a presentation on that portion.
Is she on the line?
Lexi is on the call. Lexi?
Okay.
Lexi?
I'm sorry, can you all hear me?
I can now.
Okay, so I understand there was a question about some clarification about the budget, and I just want to make sure I'm answering the correct question correctly. So what exactly is that question?
The question is it budgeted? Is it in,
Okay.
is it in the budget?
Is it,
So I
is
believe-
it in the 2020-21 budget?
Yes, the 70,000 that we're moving from this year, 2021 to 2022, that's already in the 2021 approved budget. We are moving that to 2022 because we aren't going to be able to get all of the zoning obviously done in 2021. So we are moving the expense that we had budgeted for this current year. It has been proposed to move it to next year because it will not be completed this year.
Okay, what is allocated in the 2021-2022 budget?
Give me just a moment, I'll have to pull those numbers. Mayor, I apologize. I was not aware that this question was going to be brought up. Otherwise, I would have had that budget number already available. Give me just a moment, please.
Okay, no problem.
Mayor, can I just, while she's doing that, since she's gonna be on that page, to keep her from going back, I can give her some information. Is that okay? Lexi?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Please, go ahead.
So even if you add on the adoption service, does it still fall within the $70,000 being moved from current budget to 2022?
Yes, we are just, it's the same. Yes, I believe so. Let me double check before, let me pull it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're saying, but I want to make sure before I misspeak.
Right, I didn't want you to have to do it double. Okay.
Give me just a second. So it looks like, come on, maybe a little bit slowly.
Hey, Elliot, what does the adoption cost?
Well, it depends on which firm you're referring to. Are you
use the one you want to use? What does it cost? Anyone that you got, or maybe Fran might know that.
Well, here I've got the.
From
Actually,
H3. From H3.
H3. Okay, let's see if we can. Give me a moment here.
Sure, sure. This is what I mean if you bring this to council. I don't know who you brought it to council to before, but I never heard anything about this. Because these are the questions I would have been asking.
Okay, so the optional adoption services for H3 are $6,055.
Okay, so as an add-on, we're still up under the $70,000. We're still within budget. If we only use that $70,000, is that correct? Somebody give me a nod on that.
That's if we choose to go with the other company besides the one that the planning commission unanimously voted on, yes.
Actually, they did not unanimously vote because I did talk to the planning commission. So you did not have a unanimous vote from what I was told.
And even if it was a vote, you're just now bringing this to the council. And so whoever the person was speaking for the council, they weren't speaking for me because they didn't ask these questions. If they had asked these questions, these answers would be readily available. So I don't know who the council was.
And everybody has additional questions. There's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, Elliot and I actually had a conversation. I was able to sit in. The planning commission did take a vote, and that's why the resolution is now in front of council.
Okay. Well, let me ask this question of Elliot. Elliot.
Yes.
Do you know that this should have been brought to the whole council?
Well, certainly we want you to feel comfortable in making your decision. And if that was a mistake on our part, then what we will make sure that at the next, whatever decision is made today, at the next available opportunity, this will be brought to you so that this does not happen again.
Thank you. If you were using your $130,000 at your house, would you want somebody in your house to talk to you about it? Because that's what the citizens are expecting for us to do with their money. This is not my money. It's not your money. This money belongs to the citizens. And so I'm sitting here talking about the people that I raised my right hand and said, I'll do everything I can to be a good steward of the funds. And so I'm a little put out that whoever, maybe what happened, I don't know, because I want to know what happened, the reason why I didn't know about this. And the only thing I can think of is because where I'm a liaison, I bring it back to the council. I make no decisions on my own. If I'm a liaison, no matter where it is, it's council decision, I bring it to the council.
So if you're talking about liaison, that would be me.
I'm just talking to Elliot right now, Ms. Fran, and I just want to be clear with Elliot because this is his position. And so I just want to talk to him that's why I wanted to know, did he know or did he not know that this was a council decision? And maybe because everything I'm doing, I'm trying to write SOPs. And I see right now that this is prime picking for an SOP. And I just want to know the answer, that's all, because I'm taking notes. And I just want to make sure, where did we fall behind? Why are we spending this time at 9:30 at night talking about something that should have been done whenever this came up? And I understand what Apollo is saying. He's right about that. His job is not to tell us what to do with the money. That's not his job. So I appreciate that. Miss Lexi is ready. I'll sit back, Mayor.
Okay, if I may, Councilwoman Borough, your question was how much was budgeted for fiscal year 2021? And we had originally budgeted, this time last year, we had budgeted $100,000 for the zoning code update to be spent in 2021. We are forecasting only spending $30,000 in fiscal year 2021, because obviously if we've just gone out for RFP and we're just getting these bids and bringing this to the council and all of those things, we aren't going to be very far along in the process by the end of June of this current year. So that's why Mr. Leibson had requested to move $70,000 of the $100,000 that was originally budgeted for this year to fiscal year 2022, and add to that another $40,000 because as he stated, the RFP came in to be at a certain price point, so that way we can get the zoning code update done.
Okay, Apollo Carey.
Yeah, I just wanted to just chat about the issue of, right now, what's brought to the council. Right now, we obviously we have an interim city manager. We've got a lot of I wouldn't say upheaval, but just a lot of transition going on with the city right now. And just to be clear with everyone, I don't think Elliot or staff members, decide necessarily what goes to the council and what doesn't. That's typically a city manager decision. And right now we have an interim city manager who is just really not experienced with with that. And so, if there are any balls being dropped, in relation to that, I would hope the council, would have some understanding of that. I really only say that because I work with, Elliot and other folks, almost on a weekly or daily basis. And I know they're doing the best that they can to make sure that, things are done in the appropriate way. But given the transition that we have right now, and we don't have the permanent city manager, and that kind of thing, it's somewhat, difficult for, staff members to make calls on what goes before the council and what doesn't. I just thought I would throw that out there because I'd hate for Elliot to sort of,
Take the brunt. Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's just not, it's really not his purview to make that decision.
So Apollo, I was just asking him a question and to fill out my paperwork that I'm doing, and everybody's clear. I'm clear on that, what you just said, but somebody made the decision, and here we are right now, good, bad, or ugly, and there's some other things I could probably put in place about that. But what I want to make clear is that there was a step that was skipped. I don't care who made the mistake. I don't care where it was made. It's okay with me. I'm not holding nobody's foot to the fire. I don't do that. But the mistake is made, and here we sit, and we're talking about, oh, this has already been approved. It has not. When it didn't come to the council, I don't see how that's possible. You tell me if that's legal. So, because I want to use, I hate calling you for something that's not your purview. So if this is not.
I agree with you, Councilwoman Burrow. I think this should come to the council. My estimation was what was happening tonight, was that it sort of came to the council from the planning commission. I thought that was what was happening tonight. But you're right. This is not something that the council should not have input on. Now, you talked about presentations and all that other stuff, but that maybe that's, that should have been done. Maybe there should have been, an actual presentation or something of that nature. But my understanding was that this was the staff bringing it to the council tonight from the planning commission.
Right. So that's where it should be right now. I move that this, can I, Mayor, I'd like to make a, Mayor, I think you know what I'm
City
about to
manager
say.
would like to say something, and then we could come back to you, Councilman Burrow, if you yield to him.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Mayor and Council, at this time, I would like to see if we could regroup and possibly bring in these groups and let the council see this as well. And maybe they'll make up the same decision that the board suggests that we go with. I think at this time, it would be best if we possibly retract this resolution and regroup, like I said, and set up a thing with the council, and then let's do it right. That's my suggestion.
Okay, now we need a motion on the floor to regroup.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question, Mayor Jones?
Okay, yes.
Elliot, I want to ask you a question. Let's play a what if. What if we only had the $70,000 that we're moving from this current budget into next year's budget to use for planning. And what if we looked at this sheet, and that of course would mean that we'd have to hire H3. And I don't never met them. I don't know anything about them, so I'm not promoting them. But even with the adoption fee added to it, we're still within that $70,000. So my question to you is, would you still get the work done that we all agree is very important to get done? Would it, you know, it looks to me like they said they could do it in 10 months. So would you still have people beside you to do the work? Would you still be able to get the work done? Would we still be accomplishing the goals that we all agree are very important to accomplish?
Miss Lipka, can I interject for 1 second?
Sure.
I like at this time, I would really like to just regroup and then let Elliot go ahead and during his presentation to the council, go ahead and do things right. So I mean, we can play the what if and what this and that, but let us regroup and bring it to council so everybody's on the same page.
Okay. I just need a motion on the floor to postpone to another meeting.
We vote this on the next
Let me
meeting.
ask a question. Let me ask a question before we take a motion, Mayor. I believe that Chief is not talking about another meeting. He wants to regroup. If he wants to regroup as the acting city manager, I think we ought to find out, is he talking about another meeting or is he talking about regrouping and bringing us all together is what I heard. That's not another meeting this week because nobody could meet this week.
That's correct.
So nobody can.
It's not going to be another meeting this week.
Right. So I'm thinking it's another time. And we're coming into June and we're talking about vacations. I know I'm taking one. I'm tired. So I really am. And I think that we should let them, before we take a motion, I think since we have an acting city manager here saying that we're going to regroup, I think he should tell us what he wants first before we make any motions.
Absolutely. I think what we should do is we're moving the $70,000 over to next year's budget anyway. So
correct.
A little bit of time. Let staff go back. Let Elliot present this to council. You know, so we're bringing everything to council. We're all up front. And then when we make a recommendation from the boards that Elliot's on with Fran, then they can bring to council also possibly at the same time their recommendation. And then we can have that open conversation at that meeting. It doesn't have to be tomorrow. It doesn't have to be next week. It can be 2 months from now. But let's, you know, we're moving that money over anyway. So we got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Okay.
That helps.
So can I make a motion?
Now, Councilwoman Burrow, she
Thank
has the
you.
floor to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to regroup per the acting city manager to sometime in the future. I would venture to say we're going to be going to I almost called you Sister L. That's okay. Mayor Jones, I would venture to say we're going to go to one meeting a month for the summer. Is that correct?
Yes, for July and August.
In August. So we have one, if any one of us or any two of us take off in the same month, I'm just walking us through it, then we won't have a quorum possibly. So I would say we should come back. Let's give ourselves the summer off. And then you can talk to all those people that you've been talking to, get the right folks in front of us, 1, 2, 3, however way it goes, and then possibly come back in September. I'm not throwing that date out there. I'm just saying the chief has said we're going to regroup, and you start talking regrouping and the work that you got to do. A lot of it is not leg work because you already done the work. Elliot's already done it. So I would say that we do not approve this $130,000 that's being asked because we're going to regroup. Chief, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I make the motion that we regroup, totally regroup to the chief's liking and move this off of our budget, and we come back. And I would say it's a good thing to say 90 days, come back in 90 days with all the information that we need.
Octavia, you had your hand up.
Well, I did have a question because I wanted to clarify the motion for the record.
Okay.
Because I heard one thing at first, now I'm hearing something else. So my question was, are we postponing? I was going to suggest that it's postponed indefinitely because we didn't have a time necessarily, but then I heard 90 days. So do we want to postpone it for 90 days or do we want to postpone it indefinitely?
Indefinitely.
Okay.
Thanks for correcting me.
Okay.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
This is Councilwoman Robinette. I'll second that.
It has been properly moved and second. Clerk Pittman, could you please call the roll?
Yes. 1 second. Councilwoman Noah.
Aye.
Councilwoman Griffin.
Aye.
Councilwoman Burrow.
Aye.
Councilwoman Robinette.
Aye.
Mayor Jones.
Aye.
Councilwoman Lipka.
I'm saying aye, but I think I'm asking for the presentations. So I'm gonna say aye, but I have some hesitation. Because I just want some clarification. I mean, I don't like indefinitely. I don't like indefinitely. I want to postpone it to September with 3 presentations or 2 presentations from the companies that Elliot has chosen.
Yeah,
What did we, go ahead, Clerk Pittman?
Okay, I was just gonna add that the reason why I said postpone is because we didn't have a definite date in mind. And then we can just bring it back when it's ready to come back. But I think the reason why he wants to take it back, so, you know, for the record, I don't understand the motion of regrouping, but I think he wanted to take it back so that he can, you know, rework the whole process and potentially, sounds like, potentially bring it back to you guys for the presentations and so forth. I think that's what I heard, but just for the record, that's why it was either postponed indefinitely or postponed to a certain time, but he's not exactly sure if September will be that time.
Chief, is that correct?
That is correct. And what we can do is we can work on a timeline and we can give you dates, but right now we do not have those dates. So let us get back to our offices and we work this, and then we'll get you dates that we can possibly set up meetings in September, October.
That's much better. I just don't like indefinite because I don't want this to fall off the radar.
It won't. Okay.
Councilwoman Nelson. We were ready for your vote.
Aye.
Aye, okay. Motion passes. The next item on the agenda is miscellaneous. Start with Councilwoman Noah.
Okay, everyone, and I say this with all respect to everyone, the mayor, the council, everyone listening. I understand that I have a unique name, and at times it has been difficult all throughout my life for people to pronounce my name. So again, but however, I just think that we should, use respect at all times when we're dealing with each other, and especially in this arena. And just refer to me as Councilwoman Noah, or if you can't pronounce my name, you can ask me how it's pronounced. So with that said, Councilwoman Burrow, I really felt disrespected the other night when you stated.
Remember that you're in closed session. You're speaking out of closed session.
I'm not speaking regarding closed session, Councilwoman Burrow. I'm speaking regarding last week's budget session. That was not a closed session. That was open, correct?
No, ma'am. We were in closed session.
We were not. We were not. We were in the third budget session and you stated that you could not pronounce my name. And, you could have just called me and talked to me. And then you stated that you didn't know that my last name was Noah and you thought it was Noah with the R, and we don't know each other well. I was hoping that we would develop a really good relationship. And you can just always come to me and talk to me. And that's anyone, And so I just want to say that it's words do have meaning. We have to use our emotional intelligence when we're dealing with each other. But we were not in a closed session when you stated that, and it just was rude and very disrespectful. And I just want you to know that. And that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Councilwoman Noah. Councilwoman Griffin?
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just wanted to touch on a few things as that was mentioned earlier. Mr. Dunn actually talked about the sinkholes. So if anyone sees any sinkholes that are that are pretty deep, and for what he described, more than a foot, please reach out to City Hall and so that you can, or to any of us, so that we can relay the concern and have that taken care of. In regards to the boards and commission rooms set up for Zoom, I really want to appreciate Chief Hampton for explaining. I'm sorry, let me go back here. For boards and commissions, this was in regards to the grass cutting bid. Thank you, Chief Hampton, for explaining exactly how that came about. I think, addressing it right then and there and just explaining, sometimes, that's all that's required to do so that we can all understand. The goal is not to jump down on anybody and make it, hard, but to have an understanding. So I appreciate you for doing that, so that we all would be clear moving forward as to how that happened. Thank you for that. In regards to the presentation regarding the consent decree status, so I'm a little perturbed because I remember the NPSC working on use of force policies a long time ago. And at some point, the community input in terms of those revisions were looked over by the Department of Justice. Some were accepted, some were denied. There was a draft put up, and then the community was told that it opened back up and it was allowable for officers to actually provide recommendations to that specific policy. And to hear that now here we are, a whole, I would probably say maybe a year, if not more than a year later, talking about this draft. I remember going to status hearings where we talked about the use of force policy being completed. So I'm confused as to where it's at. I want to know, after the NPSC provided recommendations, what amendments specifically to those use of force policies have been given, who it was that submitted them, who accepted them, and why was it just simply putting it on a public platform without talking to the people that were actively working on creating this? To me, I think it does a disservice. So I definitely want some clarification on that. And ultimately, I just wanted to say, I definitely want to work with everybody. I hear what everybody's saying, and yes, I understand we vote majority, but I want to hear folks' voices, even if you don't represent the majority, because let's just be honest, there was times when I was represented as the minority and my voice got cut out. And I'm not trying to do that to anybody else on this council. I want to be able to work that, and that's what I talk about, working together, is having a hard conversations. I want to be able to listen to what it is that is an issue, because that's another perspective besides my own. And if I can take that in consideration and we can figure out what's a happy medium where we're all okay with this, then that is us moving forward. That is what it looks like. And yes, at the end of the day, still majority rules because we have a government. But in terms of how I want to work with this council, I want to be able to look at it that way. And my hope would be that the rest of the council would as well. And so with that being said, I really appreciate everyone's time. Thank you, everyone, for all of your comments. I also wanted to address the concern that the people in the community have brought up on several occasions to myself. I'm just going to speak for myself about wanting to know what the process was for city manager. I do understand conversations that are held in closed session cannot be brought out of closed session. However, I feel like this process that we first started out was done in a way that included community, and for there not to be a follow-up in regards to just simply explaining, you know, where we're at in terms of that. That's something that we as a city could have easily done without discussing the legalities of it. And so that would be my suggestion right here publicly, is that I have always been in favor of keeping the community informed. That's something that we started when we first started talking about city managers and police chiefs. Like, we introduced this process of being able to get community involved because we sat for the longest talking about how do we get community involved. And so, and definitely concerns that come up, I want to be able to look at that and figure out how do we address that so that we make it better overall. So I appreciate everybody's time. I appreciate everybody's involvement in all of these processes, because they're not easy and sometimes they are extensive and they're long, but I think ultimately, little by little, we're making progress, and I intend to continue working with everybody to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Griffin. Councilwoman Burrow. Councilwoman Burrow.
Thank you.
Okay.
I want to first congratulate the Eagle Scout. Oh, well done, well done. I was looking at a couple of people around the city and around the state who was getting all these awards, and I remembered that their proclamation was coming up, and I was just so happy that we were able to get it out. And he sit there looking so stoic and I mean, the epitome of what he said he was. I just love it. And we had Heather over there, the queen of Eagle Scouts, just looked like she was all puffed up about it. So I just really appreciate everybody congratulating him. I'm so grateful for him, and anything that we can do. I just want to give a heads up to everybody that the Twilight Run was fantastic. It was out of sight. I just had so much fun. I had my blessed hat on, and there must have been 1,000 people running back talking about God is good and all of that. I just loved it where I was standing. And I got to tell you a little story, folks. There was a lady who was coming up. She had been out the day before cleaning up the area, just making it beautiful. So here she come up the way, and I had brought my little chair with me. So I said, I think you need to sit down. She said, I think so too. So she sat there and we had a little chit chat, and it all came about, I don't know if I can say this, I hope I can, but y'all gonna love it. I said, you look like you're not breathing well. She said, my daughter just brought me this brand new bra. And so I leaned in real close and I said, let's just take it off. So we made friends right there. I just loved it. But it was so much fun, and the kids had a good time. I just enjoyed being there. You know, sometimes we got to stop the busyness and go out and do something like that and just have fun with all the neighbors. And I just had a ball. I do want to talk about the budget. I love bean counters because they can count numbers. And I think we had a really great budget session this time. It was good. Everything, I tip my hat to Chief and Lexi because they had done their homework. When I picked up the budget, usually I'm pulling over 7, 10 days, whatever I can do. I was on that budget 4 days and I was done. And when we walked into the budget session, it was so sweet to be able to see everything in place like it should be. And with some exceptions that'll be coming up on Thursdays, but that's always to be expected. But I just want to tell you, Chief and Lexi, job well done. For the folks off the council, I hope you learned something. For the new people, I always look forward to the new people learning things. And so I think that was accomplished. Ella, I tip my hat to you, Mayor Jones. It was well-run budget meetings. And so that was really good. For those who came out to the comments, I'm appreciating folks that can come out and talk the comments about what they want. We had a variety tonight, and some were pro and some were con. But even at that, they were so well done that I believe the citizens had an opportunity to understand what was going on. I appreciate, Chief, for you sitting in the seat, and not just sitting in the seat, but being a leader from where you're sitting. A lot is going on that was not going on, that I appreciate your being where you are. Life has been easy for us, a lot of us, and things are moving. I use the word stonewall, and I can understand Fran's situation, what she's talking about, because I have run up against the same thing, and I was being stonewalled. And so I really do understand what you're saying. And I've had that same problem. And so I think we're going to get it straight. We are moving forward. There are a lot of things that are going on in the city that people are rallying to. I want to talk about the neighborhood associations. We got a good team over here in Ward 2. We're making some things happen. On my platform, when I was running for re-election, I put on my push pieces that I was going to revitalize the neighborhood associations and because I feel like if we're going to work together to serve together, then it's going to have to come out of those entities. And that's where we meet the people. The metal meetings road. That's when we can put some things on, because I'm not the Pope. I'm not going to kiss the baby. I'm not going to do a whole bunch of other things. But what we are going to do is join together. And if we're going to bring this city together, then I think it's going to start there when citizens can get together. I also, at the end here, I hate to call out names because you're going to miss somebody. I have a lot of people calling me about different things in Ward 2. Don Boyce has been, oh my God, he has been so good about getting back to me the same day. And not only getting back to me, but servicing my community over here in Ward 2. I lean on Heather all the time to let me know what to do, who to do. Oh yeah, you need to go check on Mueller. I had a rooster that was acting up, and I called him and said that we got an illegal rooster. Oh my God. And it had been bothering people. He took care of that like 1, 2, 3. So I thought, well, I'll give him a few more things and I'm gonna get off. I'm just so happy about things that are going on in the city that a lot of people don't know that's happening. Jerry knows, I mean, he just knocks my socks off when he does a presentation. I know Becky came on tonight and she thanked everybody for it. And for him to put up with me as many days as he has to put up with me when we're doing presentations. Well, did you do this? Are we going to talk about that? And every question I ask, he answers every question. And when I get to asking numbers, I asked him last week about some numbers and he told me, Tony, do you really have to go over that numbers? I said, I guess it's time for me to hang up. So everybody congratulate Jerry Knowles for doing a fantastic job on the CRB. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the commander because he keeps me and Jerry in line. But thank you everyone that works on my side of the fence. And Chris, I'm not leaving you out either. I just appreciate how we're moving this city. And very little is said about some of the things that I appreciate because it's all just directly with the citizens. And so we don't see a lot of things that we do, but we got people that I just mentioned. And I'm not leaving you out, Miss Octavia, because I don't know what I would do if you wouldn't answer those phones. So thank you everyone for what you're doing to help me and Heather to get through Ward 2. And we don't just do Ward 2, we take it all on. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Councilwoman Barrow. Councilwoman Robinette.
Great, thank you. I would like to thank council as a whole. We have spent an incredible amount of hours together over the past several weeks through budget and some, closed session meetings, et cetera. And I just, with our 2 new members, I appreciate the work and digging in. Budget is never easy, but I just want to thank everybody for working together to get through. It's a tough topic, and I thought that we worked really well together. So thank you to the entire council and Mayor Jones for that. I do want to say, I too was very happy that the Twilight Run was in person this year. I knew I'd finish slow, but it was fun to see everybody out there. It was fun it was a different route this year, so we got to go by different areas in the 5K, and we there are a lot of people sitting on their porches waving and cheering, and it was just a lot of fun, and it was such a good community feeling that has been missing because we haven't had the concerts and other things as well. So a shout out to everybody who helped put it together, all the volunteers, etc. It was so well done. Thank you. I would like to say, so in these past couple weeks as well, there have been a high number of emails, texts, phone calls about various subjects relating to budget, the nuisance abatement, the lawn mowing, and if we had a contract or not. We've been getting a lot of emails about the fluorescent street diet, and a lot of messages about that. The zoning contract, I got about 10 different emails and texts about that, and city hall closure. So I'm just saying this because I didn't reply to everybody just out of sheer volume, but I read everything, and anything that I could pass along to city staff, Chief Hampton and others received those as well. So I appreciate everybody voicing their concerns. I think you heard that there are often two sides to every story. And I read and listen thoughtfully and listen to the message that you are sending me. So my apologies that I didn't respond to everybody, but I definitely heard and read what you said. And finally, I would like to congratulate Craig Anthony T. Moore from Troop 608 on his Eagle Scout and all his other great achievements. I mean, as a mother of an Eagle Scout, I mean, I was puffed up because I know all the work that goes into that. And to do all that and have, such great accomplishments in high school just made me really happy for him. This kid's going places. So I just wanted to congratulate him and his entire family, because I know it takes a village to get an Eagle Scout. So kudos to all of them. And thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. I really appreciate your dedication to the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Lipka.
Yes, ma'am. I just wanted to, first of all, thank Don Boyce for, the work that they did, getting those potholes filled. I think, that's the work of the department. And I'm not patting you on the back for the work you are required to do, but I'm patting you on the back for getting it done in a timely manner and making our citizens who feel like nobody listens to them actually see something done. And, you've been in this position, I think, 6 months, and you're already got a whole line of things going. So just really kudos to you. I appreciate that. And I know the citizens do too. One thing I will ask of your staff, Mr. Boyce, is to respond to Jerry Knowles' comments. I would like to have the staff resurrect the road diet, the traffic calming for South Florissant. And I was wondering, Octavia, could you make a note to send Mr. Boyce Jerry Knowles' email so that he has those links that he referred to in his comments this evening? Okay. And then I also wanted to thank Dave Musgrave. When the news came out today about the pool and everything else, I sent him an email, boom, right in an instant. I got a great answer filling me in on how that was going to affect our budget. And I just appreciate that response rate to our community, as well as to the council members. I would like to remind people, because I'm very interested in it myself, do not forget that you can sign up, community members can sign up on the city website in the police area for those dialogues that Nicole Barton discussed, the dialogues with the community and the police. I think that's really important. And it's nice to know that you're part of the change in the consent decree. I wasn't kidding when I mentioned the different things that we could do in the newspaper. If, once we get some advertising space in there, that we could create new articles about the new employees that come in, create articles about employee highlights in their lives and employees that are celebrating anniversaries with the city. We can also answer questions of the citizens in an article there. We can update projects and let citizens know what's going on there. I think that's a very, very valuable opportunity. And I do agree with Fran. I would like for the city and the council to agree to make some kind of comment about the city manager search. We've got citizens that have come to the public comments and they've got all kinds of assumptions about the council members, me included. And I don't have an opportunity to clarify or explain because we haven't made a public comment yet. And I would really like to have us come together and answer the comments because it's getting really frustrating from our perspective as well. I want to get this done. I also want to congratulate Mr. Craig Anthony Moore. Awesome. I mean, everything you've done, and you're the prom king. Go. That's awesome. Terrific. I want to thank Chief Hampton for stepping into this position. You talk about a guy who answers his phone, and I want to wish you very good luck on the medical procedures you're going to be having coming up. And I hope that's going to give you a lot of relief. So, you know, you just do you and get strong quickly as well. Same thing to Octavia. You've got some work coming up on your foot. And so I wish you a quick and speedy recovery. And finally, I want to say thank you to the council members and to the community members. If you noticed, I wasn't at a council meeting. I also wasn't at the budget meetings. On Mother's Day, my mom, I didn't know it, but she went into congestive heart failure. And so I got her, apparently I got her to the hospital within hours of her dying. And so it was a tough week, and we found the problem, and she's now had a pacemaker put in, and now she's in rehab. So I want to thank you for all your prayers and your support. And I want to thank the council members for keeping me up to speed on the budget. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lipka. Councilwoman Nelson.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. I just have a couple of things. First, I want to just thank Mr. Boyce for the street counters over in Ferguson Woods, and I look forward to getting the data on that information as well. And also, the Ferguson Twilight one was a phenomenal event for the city of Ferguson. I enjoyed being on that committee. For the 2021 participants, we had 816 participants participate in that race, and that was phenomenal. So I look forward to next year's date, which is May the 14th of 2022 for the next race. So if you didn't get a chance to partake in that this year, definitely make sure you're ready for next year. And I also want to thank the residents in the community, especially of Ward 1, for all their condolences and cards, flowers, letters, everything for me losing my stepmother on May the 3rd. And I appreciate those who were able to attend the funeral services as well. I'm really appreciative and grateful and thankful for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Nelson. Chief Jason Armstrong.
Yes, Mayor Jones. Thank you for recognizing me. I just wanted to make a comment tonight, and it's kind of in line with Councilwoman Nelson just spoke about. I just wanted to bring to the council's attention and for the community that Captain Dilworth lost his father in this last week. And so we definitely just wanted to ask for thoughts and prayers for him and his family as they're dealing with this loss. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Attorney Carey, you have anything to share?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Interim City Manager John Hampton, you have anything to share? I cut it down. I had to cut it down.
Yeah, we're acting.
Yeah.
I get it too. Me too.
It was a lot. Acting interim city manager. I'm like, we gotta cut this thing down. So acting city manager, okay.
I think I've done enough damage for the night, so I'm good, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, good. I just would like to say congratulations to Craig Anthony. This proclamation does not depict any of some of the other things he has done. He had a diaper drive, and he was over to one of the churches, and it was diapers stacked up to the ceiling. So he is doing phenomenal work with his troop, and we're just honored to have him as our own Eagle Scout. In addition to that, Trayvon Walker, who is another young man in the community, he did have some public comments the last time we met. And I reached out to him to thank him for sharing his public comments. He's a young man in our community and he's interested in the community. So I appreciated him in the comments. In addition to that, I came in second to last in the Twilight Run for the 1 mile.
Oh, shucks.
The 1 mile fun run. Mayor Sharon Pace is going to get me, but she was after me, so she was last. So we had a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Just would like to say, acting city manager Hampton, and Alexi and the whole staff, we appreciate you for you all stepping up, having this budget to the point that our new council members could follow. We truly, truly appreciate that. I just want to say, Starbucks celebrated the staff today. They sent coffee to City Hall, to the police department, and to the fire department. So we have businesses that do appreciate what the staff is doing, the police is doing, and the firemen are doing in our community. We have the best staff in the world. I'd just like to say to the council, we're working together, we're moving forward. We never gonna all agree. However, we can sit down and talk and work it out and move forward. Just want to say, Don, you're doing a phenomenal job with the streets. I'm not getting that many telephone calls. They saying thank you. Public Works has been on my street. So we appreciate all the work you're doing. So Clerk Pittman, would you like to share?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, with that in mind, I am requesting a motion and a second to adjourn.
Tony Barrow, so moved.
Heather Robinette,
Second.
Okay, been properly moved in second. Are you ready to vote? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes, any opposed? The ayes have it. We are adjourned. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.